There were 12 mills on the Moodus River, and the mill slightly north of here was called the Falls Mill, built about 1865. The New York Net and Twine Company made fish nets in the Falls Mill. It was the first mill in town to use the Nichols Whirl, a gig twister, a mechanical net-making machine, which greatly increased the speed of production. And then the lower mill, built in 1853, 1854, was called the Atlantic Mill or Duck Mill because they manufactured canvas duck. They were the first two mills off of the Moodus Reservoir dam and benefited from a greater fall drop of water for generating horsepower to run the mills. I believe they were both owned by the same company. The Atlantic Mill, the lower one, was first lost to fire in 1853, less than a year after it was built. It was rebuilt in 1856 and operated until the late 1930s, when it again fell victim to fire, a total loss. The upper one, I was only a youngster in the age span of maybe 6 or 7 years old when the Falls Mill burnt to the ground in 1943. And that was an amazing thing to see because all the heavy machinery was all oiled practically every day, I guess, and the floors, the great big heavy plank floors, were saturated with oil, with the air often full of waste fibers of cotton dust. And when the fire hit that, they really went up big time. And my neighbor up on North Moodus Road put all the kids in a Model A Ford, and we all went down to see the fire. And we sat up on the hill, on the high ridge, where many of the factory houses were, and we watched that thing burnt right down to the ground. There was an awful lot of people because it was a sight to behold. People were crying because there were a lot of people that lost their jobs when that mill went down. It was a great loss to the community. I mean, can you imagine 12 functioning mills? They employed the majority of all the people in the town in those days. The town's population now is about 9,000, but in those days was more like 2,500. Almost everybody looked to these mills for their employment. In 1857, the Moodus Water Power Company was formed. It was formed by an act of the state legislature in Hartford, and their primary purpose was to manage the water supply. Now, when we talk about the Moodus Reservoir, it's not a drinking water reservoir. It was a compounded closure to hold the water, and at their schedule, they would let the dam open up. They would open the dam and let the water come down because all those 12 mills operated by water power. And the duck mill had its own turbine, made its own electricity. There are still remnants of that are visible. They had the most power because the water that comes off the Moodus Reservoir Dam was very, very powerful, you know, approximately 8 months of the year. And the water really came down there very high and very rapid. It was a great place to be. Now, in approximately 1962, the Moodus Reservoir Board of Directors made an arrangement with the state of Connecticut to lease them that dam, the large dam. And the state was interested in that because they wanted to be able to manage fishing and boating on the reservoir, both this side as well as the side opposite the causeway. In approximately 1965, the state purchased that from the Moodus Reservoir Association. Shortly thereafter, the Moodus Reservoir Association was dissolved and no longer existed.